right, 7.2 again starts on page 405. This is another method for solving these systems. Any of you remember last time we were graphing the two lines? What was the purpose of graphing the two lines? What were we trying to find? The point of intersection right there. That's what we were looking for. And you're doing the same thing today, only the good news is you don't have to graph anything. There's no graphing involved. You're still trying to find this point on a graph. You need to visualize that. There are two lines. You're trying to find the point of intersection, but we're not going to have to graph the lines out. So these methods today are usually preferred because there's no graphing involved. So all the homework problems you'll be doing basically the same thing. We're going to learn a method called substitution. You will have to know how to do it. And the steps are listed there on page 405. So we have two equations. Negative x plus y equals 1. Negative x plus y equals 1 is your first equation. Your second, 2x plus y equals negative 2. With substitution, your first step there in the top, page 405, it says solve one of the equations for one of its variables. Both of these are set up to where you can solve for one of the variables rather easily. In that first equation, you're always going to want to solve for one of the letters that has a 1 in front of it. That has a 2, this y has a 1, this y has a 1, and that has a negative 1. But you don't want to solve, unless you have to, for the variable that's got a number other than 1 in front of it. So in this problem, this would be the worst variable to choose. Most of the time, it's going to be 1 in the first equation. It's going to be 1, whichever one has a 1 in front. So if we were going to solve this first equation for y, what would we need to do? What do we need to get rid of there? Yeah, the negative x. So to get rid of a minus x, what would you do? So we're going to put plus x on both sides. So what does that leave over on the left? Y equals x plus 1. Again, you should be able to do that in your sleep by now. Most of you can, and that's good. So that is step 1. We solved one of the equations for one of its variables. That's what step 1 says. And step 2 says substitute the expression from step 1 into the other equation for that variable. Which variable did we solve for here then? Which one did we get by itself? We got the y by itself. So what you're going to do is take this value, or this expression, x plus 1, and you're going to put it in this equation for the y. That's what the substitution means. You're taking what you got here when you solve for y. You got y equals, and you are putting that into the other equation for the y. That's what step 2 is. You're substituting that in there. Exactly. So instead of y, you're going to have x plus 1 in there. So you're going to have 2x plus, and you are going to replace the y with what you solved for over here. What would we put in there then? X plus 1. And I would put that in parentheses. And that equals what? Negative 2. So nothing changed in this equation, except we put x plus 1 in for 2. Or in for what? He's not here. Just tell her that. So we have 2x plus x, which is 3x. And we still have the plus 1 equals negative 2. So now we have to get the x by itself. Subtract 1. So you can draw your line here again if that helps you. So what's left on the left? 3x equals. Very good. Divide by 3 on both sides. So x equals negative 1. Very good. Remember, we are looking for the point of intersection. So somewhere, all your answers will be an ordered pair, x, y. Which one do we know? We know the x equals negative 1. we still have to find the y. Here's the last step, very last step. After you found your first variable here, what do you think what would we do with that? Plug it back in right over here for the original thing that you solved for. So now you're going to have y equals negative, and what is x? Whoops, I thought x was there. Erase that. So y equals, instead of x, we have negative 1 plus 1, so what is y? 0. That is the point of intersection, negative 1, 0, and again, this is your answer. That's what you're trying to find by doing substitution. Trying to find where the two lines cross. That's all you're doing today. I'm going to do several more examples. Please ask questions if you have them, and then you'll be on your own for the homework. Let's try 3x plus y equals 5. And 2x minus y equals 10. How many variables do we have up here? 4. There are 4 variables. How many of them would be okay to solve for based on what I told you on the last one? 2 of them. Which variable in the first equation? Y. The y. And which variable in the second equation? The minus y or the y, however you want to look at that. But that's very good. Not the ones that have numbers in front of them. So it doesn't matter which one of these. You can solve for that one or this one. It doesn't matter. Just make sure, if you can, solve for one that has a 1 in front of it. So if we again pick this first equation, what would we do to get y by itself? Subtract 3x. What's that leave on the left side? We got y equals, and again, you need to know how to rewrite that. You can't actually do 5 minus 3x. Your 3x is negative, and your 5 is positive. That's the other way to remember how to write that. Negative 3x plus 5. That was step 1. So what do we do with that? Plug it into the other one. What did we solve for in this first step? What? Solve for y. So that's what we're going to plug in over here for the y. Now, there's one little difference in this problem that is very important, and I'll show you as we go here. So you got 2x. Switch colors one more time. 2x minus, and not y. We're not using y. We're going to put this in for it. And you really need parentheses here. Negative 3x plus 5 equals 10. If you don't put the parentheses there, there's a 95% chance, I would say, you're not going to end up getting that one correct. Okay? Really important to use parentheses there. And then what I would do is distribute that negative in and change both of the signs that there are in there right now. So instead of having negative 3x, it would be 2x plus 3x minus 5 equals 10. Make sure and keep those signs straight. And then combine your like terms. Do we have any like terms here? The x's, 2x and 3x. 5x minus 5 equals 10. So what do we do there? Add the 5 and then divide by 5. So 5x equals 15. So what's x? 3. X equals 3. Very good. And again, looking for an ordered pair. We know the x is 3. We need to find the y. What's the last step? So we bring this 3 back to that one that we solved for in step 1. So y equals -3 times 3 plus 5. Instead of x, we have a 3. -9 plus 5. -4. 3, -4. If you were to graph those, you would find 3, -4 is where they cross. Again, that is your answer to the problem. When you, again, as I told you last section, we do these same type of problems in Algebra 2. The only thing with Algebra 2 is these numbers in front of the variables are a lot more difficult. There'll be a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 2 there, so there's nothing that has a 1 in front. I just looked at your homework though, and all of your problems have a variable with just a 1 in front. So let's do one more, then I'll give you some homework problems. Two x plus 2y equals 3 for your first one. And x minus 4y equals -1. How many variables do we have up there? 4. How many would be good to solve for? How many? Just one. What is it? In which equation? The second one. So in this problem, we're not going to do anything with this one yet. It's going to be kind of backwards what we've been doing. So in this case, we're going to solve for this x. It's the only one that's got a 1 in front of it. Exactly. Get the x by itself. We need to get rid of this 4y, so we're going to add it to the other side. So we're going to have x equals, and we're going to write that. The 4y is positive, the 1 is negative. 4y minus 1. So this time, what did we solve for? So you're going to take this expression and plug it in for which one of these? The x. That's what you solved for. X equals this. So you're going to put that in for the x. You don't have to draw those lines. You don't have to do those steps. I'm just trying to really show you and illustrate where everything's going. So we would have 2 then, and instead of x, what are we putting in? The 4y minus 1. And then we still have the plus 2y equals 3. So what do we need to do with the 2? Distribute. So what operation do you use when you distribute? You multiply the 2 in there. 2 times 4 will give you 8y minus 2 plus 2y equals 3. Just distribute it on that step. So do we have any like terms? The y's. So we've got 8y here, and we're adding 2y here. And that would give you 10y. Still have the minus 2. Once you've got those y's combined, you can cross them off. So you're left with the minus 2 equals 3. And 2. 10y equals 5, and then divide by 10, and you get y equals what? 1/2. This problem is a little more difficult. Again, we're looking for that ordered pair, xy, and we know that our y is 1/2. Probably going to need some calculators for some of these problems anyway. So then we take that, the 1/2, and we put it back in there. X equals 4 times 1/2 minus 1. What's half of 4? 2. So what's x? Positive 1. The point 1, 1/2 is your answer for that problem. So let's look then at your homework page. 408. Let's do 14 through 34. Doing exactly what we did on the board. Don't, on 14 and 16, don't answer those questions. Do exactly what we just did on the board. So page 408, 14 through 34, even. Again, don't follow the directions on 14 and 16. Just solve and find the point, just like we did in all those examples.